Hello and welcome back. This is the most fun project I've had in a long time. I'm going to compare side by side the Treager Pro Series 22, the Camp Chef Woodwind pellet grills. Guys, if you're watching this, I know you're getting ready to spend $800 or $900 on one of these machines. Give me 10 minutes, I'll show you everything you need to know about both products so you can make a decision on which one of these grills is best for you, including cooking demos on both. Hit that subscribe button down there, check this out. So you know, if you've watched my channel for any length of time, that I love my pellet grill. I have a Royal Tailgater that I've had for probably 4 years now, and I cook a lot of stuff on it. So I'm a pellet grill kind of a guy. And I tell you what, there's really nothing better to cook a lot of these foods on that you guys cook all the time than a pellet grill. The Tailgater's a little limited, it's a small little tailgate model. These are full-size, family-size grills. So let's get into the construction of both of them first. I think the Treager Pro Series 22 is a little bit easier to assemble. The rounded legs give it a great modern look. I will tell you a couple things about it that I think it's a little bit lacking. One of the first things I noticed when comparing these grills is they're heavy. The Treager Pro Series 22 only has 2 wheels on the back, and while it's not incredibly difficult to move around, it's a whole lot more difficult to move around than the Camp Chef Woodwind with extra casters on the front, which makes moving this grill around pretty effortless. On the Treager Pro Series, the bronze finish on the lid isn't really holding up too well. Right after I assembled it, I didn't notice that I had a sweat stain on it, and it stained the lid, and I can't seem to get that out for anything. Might not bother you guys, but for 800 bucks, I don't think it should do that. You don't have that problem with the stainless steel lid of the Woodwind. No problem with fingerprints, no problem with marks. Inside the grills, and I've taken the little warming racks out, I do like the way the warming rack kind of pegs into position on the Treager. It's got these 4 little feet that go in these little holes, which is pretty cool. But what I thought was really strange was this rack will just kind of flop around in there. There's nothing to keep it in place. I thought that was kind of weird, but the rack is substantial. Whereas on the Woodwind, the grate sits in a little recessed area and it can't move far at all. It's not going to go anywhere. They both have these internal temperature probes in the chamber, and that's where the Treager probe is. Pretty much similar spot. Now let's have a look at the controls. This is a Treager, of course. On-off switch, 2 probe ports, which is very cool. Instead of just one, you have 2 probe ports, a shutdown cycle setting, a smoke setting, and then from 180 to high. High is actually supposed to be like 450 degrees, and you'll see some of the performance in the cooking coming up. But a pretty good temperature range on this thing, and you have a probe selector button. I'll show you how to use that when we get into the cooking segment. On the Camp Chef Woodwind, of course, you have your power button, a single probe port, a probe temp selector button, and this is a 2-position button. When you push it in, it reads the probe until you push it again, and then it'll go back to your cooker temperature. The bypass startup button is just basically a pellet feed switch. You have your shutdown cycle, a feed switch, low and high smoke, which that's very, very handy. Low smoke obviously does what it says. Lower temperature smoke of around 160 to 180 degrees with a lot of smoke. High smoke runs you about 225 degrees with a lot of smoke. Then you have from 175 all the way to high. Notice the 400 degree setting here, and high, wait till you see what this sucker will do on high. Now here's one of the coolest differences between these 2 cookers. This is the bottom of the Camp Chef Woodwind, and that is the ash cup. When you pull this lever right here, it dumps all the ash from the grill into that cup. So now you can go dump it out without having to disassemble the whole grill to clean this thing out. On the Camp Chef, this is your hot rod igniter right there. That's what ignites your pellets. And on pretty much all the other models that I'm aware of, when this gets full of ash up to that, you have to take everything apart and vacuum it all out to clean it, or that hot rod won't be able to ignite your pellets. With this grill, you've got this release that'll dump all that ash out in between cooks. And that lets you go ahead and go 5, 6, 7, 8, probably a dozen cooks before you have to take this out and vacuum the other ash out of the other parts of the grill body. But here's the rest of the story on cleaning. While that is a great feature and very important, that allows you to go 10, 12, or more cooks, depending on how many hours per cook, between vacuuming out the barrel of the grill. Both of these grills have to be periodically disassembled to vacuum out the chamber to get rid of the ash that doesn't stay in the burn pot. That's very important to do. What makes the big difference though is now you can go many hours of cooking time without doing that with the Camp Chef Woodwind, whereas with the Treager, about every 3 or 4 cooks you need to pull the grate, the deflectors out, vacuum everything, and put it back in service. The Treager doesn't have one of these. This is a 900-degree sear burner. I'll give you 2 reasons why that matters. Pellet grills are notorious for not getting that hot anyway. Camp Chef has solved that problem, and when you see the performance of this thing in the cooking segment coming up, you're not going to believe it. But having this burner on here gives you a second grill, a propane-fired grill, along with your pellet grill. This thing has a high, medium, low, and a warm setting, so it's literally another grill attached to the grill you have pellets in. This gives you an extra cooking service for pretty much anything you want, and it'll achieve 900 degrees for that perfect reverse sear. So enough of that. Let's get these babies fired up and see what they'll really do. This is the Treager Pro Series 22. We're going through the initial burn off right now. It's going to take a little while before we can throw a little bit of food on there. Just want to see what this baby will do. It's only been running now for maybe 5 or 6 minutes, and it's up to almost 390 already. The high temperature says it'll go to 450, so we're going to see. This thing appears to be topping out at 437, and then it cycles down to around 430 or so, then kicks back on. So let's see what it does on the cycle on high. Okay, it's bottoming out on high at 430, so a 7-degree temperature swing is not bad at all. And of course 430 is plenty hot for most grilling. Only time you'd really want it hotter than that is for searing steaks or running pizza or something like that on it. All right, on high, this grill peaked out at 510. It's been cycling back and forth between about 510 and about 490, which is amazing for a pellet grill. The probe temp button lets you cycle between the cooker temperature and the probe temperature. It's showing 51 degrees, 53. It's going up pretty fast. I'm going to check it with my trusty Maverick and see how it works out. 54, 55. It's pretty darn close. All right, for our first cook, we're just going to throw a couple hot dogs and some corn on the cob on this thing. All right, let's put a couple of nice fat ribeyes on here and let them smoke a little bit. We'll do a little reverse sear action. Go ahead and use the dual probes on these steaks. There's a little grommet on the side right here that you run your probes through. The thermocouple's right on the end, so you just stick the end into the steak or other meat into the thickest part. Probe that one, this one. Then you just plug them in to little probe ports on the grill. I'm going to smoke these steaks at 180 until they get about 115 degrees. To read your dual probes, which is a very nice feature, press the probe button once for probe 1, and it'll give you the temperature. Press it twice for probe 2, and it'll give you the temperature of probe 2. I'm getting some great smoke off this Treager. The color looks perfect. It smells amazing. Whoever said you can't get smoke on a pellet grill? Tell you what, temperature control on this Treager Pro Series 22 has been pretty close. We're at 196 grill temperature now, set at 180. That's about the high point I've seen on the cycles. It's been running about 15, 16 degrees north or south of the temperature, which is very good for a pellet grill. Just a quick word about the pellet difference between the Camp Chef pellets and the Treager pellets. I have Treager hickory pellets in the Treager. I've been using hickory and apple Camp Chef pellets in the Camp Chef Woodwind. And I'll tell you, really, the Treager pellets are harsher smoke. It's much richer smoke comes from the Camp Chef pellets. Maybe it's because they use the actual wood species and not oils for flavor. It's not bad, but there's definitely a difference in pellets between the Camp Chef and the Treager. All right, probe temp, 116. I'm ready to put those things on a sear. Okay, since these steaks are ready for the sear, I'm gonna go ahead and turn this to the shutdown cycle and get ready to throw these great steaks on a hot skillet or some other grill with a higher temperature. Since the Treager only goes to 440, that's really not enough for reverse sear. So we're gonna take these to a hotter surface to finish them off. But wait a minute, I have a hotter surface right here. The Camp Chef Woodwind has a 900-degree sear burner on the side, so I think we're good. Now I'm going to tell you, and this is not an exaggeration, having a pellet grill that'll reach in excess of 500 degrees with a sear burner on the side that'll do 900 degrees, folks, that's a game changer right there. Tell you what, you guys go ahead and try to find any pellet grill with that much versatility. That is just amazing. 2 grills in one with way more temperature range than any other I've seen yet. The Camp Chef Woodwind has to be the absolute best grill for reverse searing steaks. You can let it get happy in that smoke for a little while, get up close to your target temperature, and then slap it on the sear grill. I do not have an infrared that will handle this sear burner's temperature. My infrared tops out at 500 and it pegged real fast. So we're just going to do a minute or 2 per side on that. These babies will be done. All right, look at that. All right. All right, we got the Treager Pro Series 22 fired up again tonight. We got some marinated split chicken boobs on here. Let's see how they're doing. That one's ready. That one's ready. And that one's almost ready. So I was doing a pretty good job on those chicken breasts. All right, over here on the left, we have the Treager Pro Series 22. That's got some marinated split chicken breasts on it. On the Camp Chef Woodwind, we have got a really nice picnic. It's been on there about 14 hours now, and it's getting real close to going ahead and wrapping. I chose this because we have a family party tomorrow, and that picnic will get a lot of extra smoke flavor from the Woodwind. Treager's doing a great job, but the Woodwind definitely gives more smoke flavor, in my opinion, at least with these 2 grills that I have. And there's those chicken breasts off the Treager Pro Series 22. They smell amazing. All right, first things first, I want to make sure you guys understand in no uncertain terms, these are both excellent cookers. I'm sure you'd be happy with either one of them. I've done everything I can to stay as unbiased as possible throughout this review video, but I think by now it's pretty plain to see that there's definitely an edge between one or the other of these cookers. There's a little bit of a price difference too that goes with it. Feel free to put questions in the comments below and I'll answer them as best I can. I've had about 2 weeks with these grills and cooked on them almost every night. Who knows how long I will have had them by the time you guys watch this. So if you have questions, please ask them down below. Now, overall, I say the Camp Chef has a pretty distinct advantage, and here's why. The stainless steel lid and trim that not only looks great, but won't fingerprint or stain. The ash clean out feature that lets you go many more cooks in between cleanings of your grill. The much higher temperature range settings on the Camp Chef Woodwind gives it an edge over every other pellet grill I've seen so far. The low and the high smoke settings give you that much more versatility. This beautiful stainless steel cast iron grate 900-degree propane fired sear burner that doubles as a second propane grill. Now, in all fairness, let me show you a couple things that I like better about the Treager. Treager's temperature control has 2 probe ports and comes with 2 probes, so you can monitor 2 different pieces of meat at the same time for different finish temperatures. That is very handy. The pellet hopper is slightly larger and holds a few more pellets than the Woodwind. I don't think it's a whole lot different, but what really makes the difference is there's no goofy guard in here to get in the way when you're changing out pellet. Now, is that a huge deal? As you can see, no guard, 4 screws. It's out of there. So that should give you enough information to decide which of these 2 great grills will be right for you and your family. Make sure if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I would love to hear what you think about this video. Hit that subscribe button down in the corner so you can check out some of my other videos while you're here. Give me a thumbs up like button. We'll see you next time.